Today we're going to look at the new functionality around documents and pulling data from columns in a board. I'm going to show you how you can utilize this to really facilitate requests, briefing, information coming in via externals, and you can summarize that in your boards really easily. I think it's a really powerful feature and one that's going to be leveraged for a bunch of different use cases. I'm going to show you really simple ways you can get it set up today. So the first thing that we want to do is obviously we've got our board here. We've got our people column, status, date. We'll just add another, we'll add some other columns here. So this might be another question. We might add a drop down here to say something else. And we'll add some things in here, option 1, option 2. And we'll get rid of those out of here. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and set up our documents column. So we'll click our plus sign here. We'll click Monday Doc. This then creates our Monday Doc column. We'll call this our request summary. Now, once we've got this set up, the first thing we want to do is we're going to go into the 3 dots here. We're going to go into the settings, and then we're going to set a doc template. So we're going to click set doc template, and we're going to click create new. So what that means is that every time a new item gets created in this board, it's going to pick up this template and utilize it against that particular item. So what I can do in here is I might want to put the request coming in, and then I might want to put some information. So general information here, and I might want to make this a heading, and maybe I'll make it bold. So the next thing I want to do is I want to pull in the information from my board. So I'm going to say, what's the time when it was received? We're going to say, what's the name of it? You can see here I'm using the curly braces, and then I'm selecting these dynamic values. So I'm going to say who the person is. We want the status. Let's get the date as well. Let's get those other kind of columns that we set up. So you can see here, while this is really formatted very basically, what we can do is we could really, transform this potential document to be aligned to our particular brand. We might have our logo in here. We might have tables. We might have images. We might want to have some notice boxes, and that can really become a document that becomes dynamic when it's created. So it doesn't have to be this generic kind of structure here, but I'm more just demonstrating how we're getting in that dynamic information into our template. So you can see now we have that established at our template level. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to go through and create a form. So I'm just going to create a simple form here. We'll go through, we'll edit it. So I'll go through here. Let's restrict it so I can select the person. We'll show that. We want to show the date. We want to show this other question. And then we want to show this one. So if we publish that, that's now going to be our form to submit our requests in. Again, it's very basic, but we can have this form set up for externals or potentially people not in Monday who need to push things in. So we've got our doc template set up in our doc column. We've set up our placeholders within that document to pull in information against that item, that is the columns against that item, and we've set up a form to receive those requests. The next thing we want to do is we want to automate that creation of that document. So I'm going to go into my automations here, and I'm going to add a new automation. So I'm going to say when item created, and I'm going to type in doc, add doc to column. So we're just going to go, it's going to add a doc to that request summary. So what it's going to do when that item is created is going to pick up the template. It's going to pop it into that request summary column. So we'll just click create. You can see this has taken us all of 5 minutes to really set up the structure of it. But when we click form now, and we go through and say, let's call it I'll choose myself here. I'll select the status. I'm going to put a date in. Free form text information. I'm going to select one of these options. I'll select both of them. And then I'm going to hit submit. So once we do that, obviously, we understand that information becomes an item in the board that you can see instantly. What's happened is we've got a document created summarizing the information in that board. So when I click on that doc, you can start to see that dynamic information is now populated in that document. So essentially you have a summary or a really easy way to extract that information. There are ways you could export that out. You could take that document out after it's been submitted and send it back. There's different ways you can use it. You could also create a new view. So maybe I want to say at the top here, this is my working view. You can see I just want to click the three dots and set that as my default. What I'm going to then do is I'm going to hide a lot of the columns. So I just want to see that request summary. So I click save to this view. And now against my request, I don't have all the columns if I don't need them or I have particular columns, but I've got the request directly in there so I can see the information that happens. Importantly, and I think, when you note within your workflow, things are changing after they kind of get briefed in. And sometimes you've got to go back and rework the brief or the request. I can see here if I make a change, that's going to be reflected in that document. So it is dynamic around what the structure of that information is. So this is then something you can potentially collaborate on. So, you could collaborate with people on this document. I just think this becomes a really powerful feature for people to use. It's going to be super powerful when it comes to requests and briefing and managing that information, just making it really simple to set up those templates and ensuring that document information is really easily extractable within your workflow. So that's just an example of how those documents are now being applied within a workflow. I think this is something you should utilize if you're looking at how to manage requests, briefs coming in, dynamically creating documents. If you're doing that through apps at the moment, you can bring that inside Monday with some simple steps that are basically set up that document template, align on what those columns in the board that you want to place in that document, and then automating that information to create that document on creation or submission of the form. So really simple there, really powerful workflow that I think you can start to utilize to simplify how requests are coming in and how teams want to extract or view that information.